10 about Eminem, Marshall Mathers, 10 about the NFL draft, which is in Detroit, and 10 facts about driver's education. If you don't know, I'm a state certified driving instructor. I teach adults, I teach teens, and this is Driving with Myles. Let's go ahead and get it. Let's talk about our boy Eminem. Eminem was born Marshall Bruce Mathers III on October 17th, 1972 in Joseph, Missouri. Next fact about the NFL. The NFL draft is an annual event where NFL teams select college players to join their draft. Here's a fact about driver's education that will help out. Driver's education is a formal program or course designed to teach individuals how to operate a motor vehicle safely and responsibly. Some of the trends I've seen, people are waiting till they're 18 to 36 years old to get a license, which is fine. It takes more opportunities, there are more challenges. I think the reward is greater. Next fact about Eminem. Eminem moved to Detroit, the Motor City. I'm from the Motor City. At a young age, he spent most of his time, his childhood to his early adulthood in Detroit. And here's an interesting fact. His childhood home was purchased by a developer, and they sold each brick for over $100. So someone made a lot of money off of Eminem's house where he was born. Let's talk about the NFL draft. Detroit has hosted the NFL draft on several occasions. 1938, 1942, 1958, and in 1988. Let's go to our next fact about driver's education. I'm doing good, bossing up, I'm feeling good. I wanted to go live to talk about Eminem, the NFL draft, and driver's education. And of course, I'll finish out with some questions about driver's education. It's going great. And I'm blessed to be here, and a lot of you are watching the live. And I want to keep going live at about 3:15, 3:10 Eastern Standard Time, and then in the evening, 7:30, 7:45. So let's go ahead and get it. The second interesting fact about driver's education is that driver's education includes a classroom portion, or I'm giving you a virtual class right now, and then a in-car behind the wheel. We call it BWT, behind the wheel training, where I teach you how to park, merge in the expressway, make left turns, right turns. Next interesting fact about our boy Eminem. Eminem debuted his album Infinite and was released in 1996. But it was his album 1999, The Real Slim Shady, that really put him on the map. And this brought him a lot of mainstream success. The next interesting fact about the NFL. The most recent NFL draft was held in Detroit in 1988 at Detroit Marriott Renaissance Center. And as you know, General Motors has planning to move out of the top of the Renaissance, and I've been up there to the top. And they're going to be moving into the old Hudson's building that Dan Gilbert, he is the owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers. So Dan Gilbert, he's an investment guy, right? He's a billionaire. So he owns Quicken Loans too. So they're trying to rebuild Detroit, get more people to come back to the city, economic opportunity. You feel me? So I thought that was very interesting. Next tip on driver's education, the goal of driver's education, and I'm trying to give you a background. The goal of driver's education is to prepare new drivers for challenges on the road. A lot of challenges now are road rage, the testing phase. When I started, you just needed 4 hours. There was no road test, but a lot of states have the road test now to test people on their abilities, parallel parking. There's a more emphasis on the mechanics of driver's education. So a lot of you have to study more, particularly in the UK. They have a really challenging test as well as in the United States. And then, what in terms of preparation, I've taught students from Canada also. So every test is slightly different. There are more questions. It takes more time. So it just depends on how old you are, where you live. I have people watching from the UK, people watching from the United States, people watching from the Middle East, people watching from India. It's really awesome. Let's keep it moving. Next fact about our boy Eminem. Eminem won the Best Rap Album Grammy, right, for 3 consecutive albums. So this kind of put him on the map. The Slim Shady, Marshall Mathers, and the Eminem Show. So this brought a lot of success to him, as well as the Metro Detroit area. And then he was traveling back from Detroit to California with Dr. Dre, Eminem. Okay. Next fact about the NFL. Let's continue to bring this. The Detroit Lions have had various success in the NFL. Thank you for the hearts and love. Because it's tough for any team to get the right players and then have everything working for yourself. And then when the football team does good in the city does good because it brings economic opportunity. And drivers, and I've taken clients to that downtown Detroit, to Windsor, to Montreal, to Toronto, to Houston, Texas, to California. So when you teach people how to drive, it's really worldwide, right? And then type in where you guys are from so I know. Next, another driver's education fact. We want to cut down on fatalities. Fatality is when someone dies. So about 12 years ago, many states and legislators added the graduated license. You have level 1, you're in that for 3 months, you got to get 30 hours. Level 2, it's a 3-day class. You got to have 50 hours and be 16. So everyone's a little bit different. Then in many parts of the world, you're going to have extended study sessions, more in-car driving. In the UK, they drive manuals. Here in the United States, we are not driving that many manuals. 90% of our cars are automatics. I do know how to drive a manual. Here's some advice for a new driver. New drivers do a lot of traffic light driving. You look at light to light, but you don't see dangers to the left. You don't see what's going on in front. You don't see dangers to the right. So when you're driving, take a step back and process your information. See what's around you. See what is there to help you. Should I be covering the brake? Should I change a lane? And it's really important that you take a step back. Don't let your mom stress you. Don't let your dad stress you. And of course, your instructor. You want to take your time and encourage consistent skill sets. Okay, that's what good driving is about. Also, you want to learn from other drivers. You should be looking at all my content. You should be watching your parents. You should be watching your cousin drive, your uncle, your auntie, anyone you can see drive. You should be studying what they do and just writing down some common things you see. Man, how does my uncle, power shift without the clutch, right? He has good clutch shift timing, right? How does my grandmother back up the trailer into the garage? How did my grandmother drive the tractor, right? When I was little, I used to see the tractor out in the field. I'm like, wow. So you got to learn these things, and you do learn from your family, right? It depends on where you are in the world. Let's talk about next fact about our boy Eminem, right? So next, Eminem is known for his alter ego, right? Slim Shady, okay? It's characterized as violent and dark lyrics. So that kind of put a spin on him. And then a lot of people around the world tend to look at Detroit, look at Michigan as something that's not really real. But a lot of people who travel to Detroit saw different. You'll see a lot of news stories, right? And it's very positive because it brought a lot of economic opportunity. And of course, they set the record for the most people ever at an NFL draft. Bam! So Detroiters showed up and showed out because it's a positive experience. If you had a chance to get down there, it's a once in a lifetime thing. Also, the Grand Prix will be coming here, and I'm going to try to get to that and shoot some content because if you love Formula One cars, you love the smell of race gas, you want to talk to a F1 driver, then I'm going to try to get down there and make that happen because I'm an enthusiast. I love cars, I love teaching, and I think there are a lot of people out there who really like that. And F1 racing is known around the world, and these guys and ladies have incredible skills. So if I could interview 3 or 4 and get some tips that could help all of us, and then you can become a better driver. You want to continue learning the right of way. A lot of beginners get confused at four-way stops. The first car to get there is the first car to leave. If 2 cars come together at the same time, the car on the right has the right of way. Let's keep talking. Next, in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions selected Trevor Lawrence overall, but they traded, right? Let's talk about a driver's education tip. Driver's education courses focus on traffic laws, defensive driving techniques, and I'm really big on defensive driving techniques. If you've seen some of my content, I talk about keeping good space, have room around you, cover your brake, try not to run yellow lights. Don't slam your brake because if you slam your brake, you're going to get rear-ended. And if you can proceed safely through a yellow, you should, but don't get comfortable running yellow lights because eventually you will get a ticket. Also, the degrees of distracted and impaired driving. There are a lot more states that have very strict laws on medical. They have strict laws on alcohol. So you got to be really careful in a downtown area because people are consuming alcohol, people are partying, and it's great for the city, but also it's a bad combination because you want to have a designated driver. Let's go to that next tip on our boy Eminem, right? Eminem won 15 Grammys and is best-selling music artist. So that's incredible. So he is a lyricist, right? He knows how to put words together, okay? Next tip I want to say to you is that the NFL is also a significant impact on the city. We talked about this. Day one of the NFL draft in the city of Detroit was $160 million. I will find statistics on day 2 and day 3, but you had over 275,000 people go down to that event. Parking was upwards of $80, $100, and then all the forces, the Windsor Police, the Detroit Police, the State Police, the FBI, CIA, and there are other forces that I'm not going to name because I want to keep that private. They were out there securing the area, so we did not hear of anything negative, but you will have people who want to hate, and then they'll find things on there. I always look for the positive in you, and I hope you look for the positive in me. So let's be positive. That's what I say. And when I teach someone, I try to be positive because I'm teaching you a lifelong skill. Okay, so the next goal for driver's education, many high schools offer driver's education, but a lot of schools have stopped. Right, from France, oui. Bless, how old are you? What type of driver's education program do you have? Do you have a graduated license? Do you have to be 18? Do you have to be 21? Every country is different, and driver's education is very expensive. Typically here in the United States, third-party companies, $450 to $650. Segment 1, segment 2, segment 3. Hey, Julian, how are you? Segment 3 is, you're 16, you're ready to take your road test. So there's some steps you have to go through, but once you get your full license, you're going to be on probation, so you don't want to get any tickets. Let's continue. If you're vibing to the music, give me a thumb up. And this is bringing you value, give it a thumb up because I'm going to give you driver's education, some information about the draft, as well as our boy Eminem. And Eminem is worldwide. And he took the time to come down there, presented a free concert, and also Big Sean, which is incredible. And also our boy T Grizzly. True, I think the education process is not as good as level. I feel you on that. I'm in education, and I think with more teacher training, Google is a big partner coming in, and I'm going to do some training in AI development, so I'm excited about that. Also, I feel driver's education is continuing to update. It depends on the company, the management, and the creativity of the instructor. So I find that a lot of students are really connected to social media. So I try to integrate social media. I try to share personal examples. I build relationships with the parents because the parents are going to be the ones that you're going to be spending most of your time with. You'll see me 6 times, 10 times, 12 times. But Julian, I want to say thank you for sharing that comment, and just drop a thumbs up, drop a like, drop a heart. Let's continue. And if you got comments, put them in. I'll shout you out. So, and we're talking about many high schools offer driver's education as a part of a course. Thank you. But due to cost, a lot of high schools have stopped that. I took driver's education in high school, after school, good experience, great instructor, had a course that was connected behind the school. We had traffic lights, parking. You had to put fuel in the car. So it was really a good educational process. But yes, you must learn other languages. But you're right. And it is about educational opportunities. And this platform, they're going to be opening up translations to Spanish, German, and French, right? And Eminem is still real. Eminem, he is real. He hurt his back a few years ago, and he was addicted to painkillers. And I've hurt my back too, so I've taken some medication. But you have to. Some painkillers are very, very. But really, he wants to be a private guy, right? A lot of people just want to touch him and be around him. He wants to be a private guy, and he has adopted daughters, right? Eminem doesn't need to put on any other concert. He wants 20 to 30 million, and he is the king of rap if you look at numbers. But that can be debated, and that's another. But I really appreciate you. He is a real person, and really he just wants to be private and left alone. His daughter is named Haley. She's, I don't know, 25, 26, 27. I believe she went to Chippewa Valley High School, and that was in Michigan, and now she's in psychology. So he just wants to be a private, regular guy, and I'm not mad at him for that because people just want to be left alone, right? Let's talk about the high school curriculum. Many students to require to complete the course. So a lot of students have to complete the course. Typically, it's about a semester. You would be inside the classroom, learning road signs, working on worksheets, watching videos that are really old. Then from there, you would get a partner and be paired in a car. Typically, they were 8 to 10 cars on the course. The instructor would be outside. You would be driving your car in a fenced-in area with cement barriers in case you lose control, right? Because we're putting teens in a car they have never driven. The car does have an additional brake-in mirror. So let's continue that. And also, teens and adults need to work on speed control. A lot of beginners have a difficult time keeping speed. And in downtown Detroit, there's so many people out there, you could easily bump into someone and run them over. So you have to practice defensive driving to the next level. Let's talk about our boy M. Despite controversial surrounding his lyrics and personal life, Eminem remained one of the most influential rappers in the world. It's 127 in for me. Wow, okay. It is 7:28 p.m. here, Eastern Standard Time. Have to sleep. Nice. Okay, thank you. Follow, subscribe, and I will shout you out. Thank you, Julian. I really appreciate you. God bless. And subscribe. Hopefully it brings you value. Thank you for the hearts. Top Gun Maverick. Yes, love the movie. Historic. Really put a lot of young men and women who want to join the Air Force. So and we all love Tom Cruise, right? We all love Tom Cruise, and an incredible driver, does a lot of his own stunts. What is it? I'm having issues, and I know. So what I would say is, you need to sit down with. You're talking to me right now, so I would say you got to set some clear goals, right? If you want to learn how to drive, if you don't have a medical condition, first be examined by a doctor. Maybe you might have seizures or some type of medical condition. Then once you're cleared, if you're over 18, you might have to go get a TIP, right? Temporary instruction permit. Okay. Hey, Jordan. You might have to get Jordan Miller. Hey, how you doing? You have to get a temporary instruction permit. Then you can drive with someone who's over 21. And it depends on what state. I'm in the Midwest, so every state is different. Wisconsin, you don't need a permit. You can just go there, take your test, and drive. So every state is a little bit different. I like to see people get practice before we put adults or teens on the road, because a lot of young people that 16 to 22, 23, they're killing themselves and they're having accidents. So I'm a firm believer in training and knowledge tests, and that's what we're going over now. Focus on rules of the right of way, right? And then here's another driver's ed tip. In addition to high school programs, there are private driving schools or online educational schools. That's where I come in, online educational school. I'll be putting together some material, putting together a stand, store, digital. Is it better? I'm a better driver than you. That's what they all say. But everyone is different. It really depends on your perspective, right? Eminem is a better driver than all of us. So it depends on what you mean by better. Are you talking about city driving, parking, expressway merging, going around roundabouts, junctions? So that's kind of a broad term, but anyone can talk through a camera or phone and say, hey, I'm a better driver. It's the UK and I want to move to the. Yes, Aaron, it depends on the cost of living and where you live. And I'm going to do some research on the UK. I know it's quite expensive, but there's some really beautiful areas. We had a teacher travel to the UK. So I got to do so. I'm from Tennessee. I have my permit and working on my license. Get that license. Get that license, my girl. Practice. And then when you're ready, prepare for it. You need someone who's going to show you positivity, who's going to give you support. And it depends. If I was if I was learning how to drive now in 2024, I would take about 4 or 5 private lessons, right? I would get an instructor, and in the UK, you find your instructor. So I would get a private instructor, and I would drive about 4 lessons and have an instructor evaluate me, right? What do I need to work on? And then I would take that knowledge back to my parents and caregivers and practice and practice and practice. Then when you're ready, go take your test. Okay. Next, driver's education instructors are typically licensed professionals. I'm a licensed professional. Every 2 years, I have to go through a certification test, background check. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm trying to get much practice, but I can't thank you. Hey, where's your gun at? It's put up. It's always private. I keep it put up, right? Show us the Second Amendment. I got the flag behind me, so that speaks volumes. And the land of the free and the home of the brave, right? So, I have some clients in Texas. So in Texas, it's wide open, right? But every state is different in terms of rights. But I also think you need to have good practice and have a plan. And you want to feel safe in the car. So private instruction, online classes, and then I get specialized training. I have played the GTA and hi Aaron, and I want to do some driver's ed tutorials with that, but that's not quite what my channel's about. So some of my clients are telling me get a Logitech steering wheel or maybe invest and get some higher level products and set up cameras. And then we do some specialized driving. So this summer, I'm going to do some summer school and have some additional funds. Although the album from Eminem dropping The Death of Slim Shady. Let's hit Slim Shady a second. We got some good questions here. Despite controversy surrounding his lyrics and personal life, Eminem has remained one of the most influential, successful rappers in the world. So no matter where you are in the United States, Eminem demands that respect. And we can compare him to Tupac. We can compare him to any rapper you want, but it just depends. Do you have a video on adjusting your mirrors? I do have a video on adjusting your mirrors. It's one of my top 10. I was sitting in the rain in the driver's ed car. You got to look straight ahead and adjust your mirror. You want to adjust your inside mirror. So I do, but you guys need to tell me what you want, and then I'll make that happen. Next, Eminem starred in the semi-autobiographical 8 Mile, right? And that cost over $20 million, and that was in 2002. So imagine today, you can shoot that on your iPhone. So back then, they didn't have that type of technology. So that really put him on the map. That put Detroit on the map, which won an Academy Award for the best original song, Lose Yourself, right? I'm outside place opening up. Hey, what's up, Jordan? How you doing? Thank you for the hearts. Thank you for the love. Next, the NFL draft. The NFL draft has significant economic impacts on the whole city, bringing visitors and revenue and tourism to the city. So if you look at any social media, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you see people in the city, and we did set day one attendance record of 275,000. They had to shut it down, but a lot of people were running under the barricaded sections, but the police got them. And then day two and day three, we set the total attendance. So we're saying Detroiters showed up and showed out. Let's hit this driver's education. Driver's education requirements vary by state. Remember, I'm an American instructor. I'm in the Midwest, but a lot of people who watch my content in the UK, in Germany, in Australia, and then I hear that. What's one of the most common mistakes people make on their driving test? Not understanding rules of the right of way, not yielding for an emergency vehicle. Not yielding for pedestrians. Making a right turn or red. You have to stop first. I love the question. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you for the hearts. I love the question. So you have to, when you get evaluated, you're going to have that licensed instructor coming in. They're going to have a clipboard, and they're going to sit in the other side. Driving is easy. You need no skills. It depends on the person. It's easy for everyone to say that, but we're all different. I'm different than you. You're different than me. Everyone has a different perspective. I've driven clients in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. I think the trend today is a lot of people 18 to 36 don't want to drive. They have Uber, they have Lyft. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of people here in the United States, and there are other places besides the United States, and Jordan, where are you from? So a lot of people just are not motivated post-COVID, but we're not going to use COVID as an excuse. You got to go through training. You've got to either go through school, public school, and take it. I really just need to learn how to maintain my speed. I'm either going too slow. This is typical. So, what you're learning, you've got to, I want you to wear thin sole shoes, Converse, Crocs are good. Don't wear Nikes. Don't wear Timberlands. Wear thin sole shoes. You got to learn to adjust your foot on that gas pedal, right? If you were with me right now, I would have you in the neighborhoods making right turns, making left turns, pulling in driveways, turning around, really getting comfortable with that gas pedal, right? And then able, when it's time for us to make that right turn and get on the main road, I would say, listen, I want you to have a gap. Let's pretend we're making a right turn. We're looking to our left. You have to take your time and look for an open gap. And a lot of beginners pull out in front of cars. You'll fail your test. Don't scare your parents. Okay. Favorite movie? I definitely like Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? Total Recall. I'm a big Arnold Schwarzenegger fan. He's from Austria. Really like him. One of my great actors, right? Also a lot of Tom Cruise movies. Okay. Now, research has shown that completing a driver's education course can lead to safer driving, and I need a lot of you to do that. It never hurts to get certified instruction. And if I went through dramatic trauma where I had an accident, where I was learning how to drive over, I would definitely go with a professional because people aren't patient. They don't understand the mistakes you make from an 18 and 36-year-old. And the older you get, the less patient people are. And I see this all the time. I teach adults. Your parents are very mean to you. Your uncles are mean to you. Your siblings are mean to you. So you kind of feel alone. And the people that are watching this right now, that's that 18 to 36, you don't have anyone to help you, right? How do I get to the DMV? What is the test like? How do I practice? I don't have a car, right? So I hear these things over and over and over. And I have to accept it as the gospel, right? Why would people write comments and not, support them? The NFL draft rotates different cities each year. It gives various cities the opportunity to host it. And it's a lot of economic opportunity out here. You got to leave room when you're driving. You got to leave space. And, Ashante, if I'm saying your name right, she's here. She's saying she's learning. She's got to have a little struggle with the speed control. And that's normal. Start in your neighborhood. Make 12 right turns, 12 left turns. Practice coming up to the bottom of the street, looking left, looking right, and going in the nearest lane. And then making right turns at the light. Then when you feel comfortable, practice lane changing. That's what I usually do, is practice those lane changes. Next, I'm going to give all of you a review. Okay, in a multiple lane roundabout, should you change lanes before or after? I want you to type it in. In a multiple lane roundabout, should you change lanes before or after? Go ahead and type it in. Thank you for the hearts. In a multiple lane roundabout, should you change lanes before or after? Go ahead and type it in. While you're typing in, I'll go to the next question. Your seat should be adjusted that your right foot can reach the gas pedal and brake with your knee bent at a 45 angle. I always wear Converse. That's what's up. I'm not sponsored by them, but Converse, if you hear, I wear size 14. Converse are good shoes because you can feel the gas and brake. Your heel can be on the floor. You want to pivot your foot between the gas and brake. We drive with our right foot only. I know there's some people here from the UK, India, Asia, France, but in America, 90% of our cars are automatics. So we have our foot on the ground, our heel, and we pivot. Our left foot goes to the dead pedal. That's all the way to the left. We pivot our foot between the gas and brake. And occasionally I see students driving with 2 feet. I'm like, no, you can't do that because you're going to mix up the gas and brake. And also you see some people driving, sometimes you always see the brake lights on. They're driving with 2 feet. And then they're resting their left foot on the brake. Don't do that because that's going to wear out your brake pads. So you want to change lanes before you go into the roundabout. Let's keep it moving. Next, when a vehicle is equipped with airbags, what is the safest position for a child restraint in the middle of the rear seat? You always want to have that child seat in the rear, okay? And turn the opposite way because you always want to be careful because one day you're going to be driving your little nieces and nephews and your uncle or auntie, here's $20. Go take Junior and get a smoothie and the rest is yours. You're like, bet. My car needs gas. So that's a special moment when you go to your family's house, you see your auntie, your uncle, and they look out and see your junky car. And then you're like, what the heck, bruh, right? But you are doing it. We all have to start somewhere. And when you start, you keep going, but at least start. Thank you for the hearts. Let's keep it going. Let's get us some other information in here. If the temperature light comes on while driving, you should pull over, cut off the motor, and check the fluid once the car cools down. But here's a pro tip. You can turn on the heater up high and it will get the warm air out of the engine and your temperature gauge should go down. If you were driving to Detroit for the draft, Los Angeles, Texas, and there's heavy traffic, your temperature gauge will go up. So you can turn on the heater on high and get that hot air out of the car. This is bringing you value. Put some thumbs up, drop some hearts. Let's continue. If you're liking this music, give me a thumbs up, give it a vibe. The correct technique for backing up is to steer the car the opposite direction you want to back into. It's false. You want to turn the car into the direction you want to go. If you want to back up, it's okay. I'm not here to learn to drive a car. Okay, it's okay. I'm not to learn to drive a manual. Drive them all. I know how to drive a manual. I know how to drive an automatic. Once you learn that skill set, you'll have it forever. You may have an auntie or uncle. Hey, I got this Mustang, but it's a 6-speed manual. Okay, so you do have to. And you got to learn. Let's go through some other review questions right now. Inertia is the primary reason that seatbelts are important to a driver in a crash. This is true. The seatbelts strap you in, and if you hit something, you won't fly forward, and then you won't be pulled back. So you want to put on your seatbelt. That's the first thing I need you to do once you get into a car. Let's go back to that manual. You're going to have to push in the clutch and hold the brake and make sure it's out of gear to start the car. And then once your car's started, the car's warmed up, you're going to Put it in first and put your clutch in, right? Thank you. Next, this is going to be some controversial stuff, so I know you better listen. Hand over hand steering involves pushing the steering wheel down in the other hand while your other hand crosses over to pull the steering wheel further down. This is true. So there are different methods. Some of your parents do hand over hand. You can ask them. Hand over hand is good for right turns, parallel parking. Going around a curve is gradual. So some people palm the wheel, right? Some people do the hand to hand. It really depends on your instructor, what you were taught. AAA here in the United States, they're a national organization. They said 7 and 5, where your hands are down lower on the steering wheel. 7 and 5. This is like a 7 and 5. This is a 9 and 3. This is a 10 and 2. So I have very long arms. I'm 6'4". I weigh 260. I have very long arms, so I need room. And a lot of times cars are really too small for me. I tried that Ford Bronco, really nice, but I don't have the headroom because my head kept hitting that roll cage, and it wasn't really comfortable for me, and they're really expensive. So I tend to like bigger trucks, SUVs. The Sierra 1500 with that turbo, that's a nice one. I like that. Let's continue with some other questions. Try to bring you value. If this is bringing you value, give it a thumbs up. Put those questions in. Next, four-way emergency flashers, right? Will warn other drivers that your vehicle is stopped and cannot be moved. So if your car breaks down, you want to push the little red triangle. It could be on the dashboard. It could be on the top of the steering wheel. You push that, your front flashers will flash. Your rear flashers will flash. And this lets drivers know, hey, this car is broken down. So, Shante, if you're driving and something's going on with your car, turn on those four-way flashers. Work on that steering, right? Let's keep going. Let's get some more questions here. Your vehicle outside mirror should be adjusted in a way that the blind spots are reduced. This is true. Thank you for those hearts, baby. This is true. But you have to look over your shoulder. I'm making a lane change to the left. You got to look over your shoulder real quick. Making a lane change to the right. Look over your shoulder to the right. A lot of beginners turn the steering wheel, and then you're going to scare your mom. You're going to scare the instructor. So it's just a quick turn and look, right? Let's keep it up. This is bringing you value. Drop another thumbs up. I got 2. I want to get some more in here. We got 17 people in. If you approach an intersection without a stop sign or signal, you should slow down and yield to pedestrians and other traffic that arrives at the intersection first. This is true. A lot of you ask me some of the common problems. Right of way. That's one area that I think needs to be improved in driver's education across the board. I can't speak on what they do in the UK. I've seen some instructors on social media. They seem to be doing okay, but everyone is different. And I don't want to be critical and say, hey, the United States test is more difficult than the test in the UK, or the UK test is more difficult than the test in the Middle East. It varies on your training, your instructor, and how much energy they give you. I'm a really high energy person, as you can tell from my videos, and I'm trying to give you good information. Thank you for those hearts. So let's keep it going. When you are first in line and the light turns green, you should check left, right, and then left. You have to look. Cars run lights, and you're going to be a defensive driver on your road test. They want to see you look around. And Ashante, one thing I would say, you got to look around. You got to check traffic. In the neighborhood, you're just going to be focusing right here. But out on the streets, you got to see everything. You got to see lights. You got to see cars pulling out of Starbucks, McDonald's. You got to see the bus making a right turn. You got to see some guy in a truck. You got to see so much. And in the city, it's even more overwhelming. And then I've seen students like brain shut down because they're so overloaded with information. It's called information overload, and I try not to trigger those situations and take you to really heavy populated downtown areas because you'll get overstimulated. You'll have cars, you'll have people, you'll have kids, you'll have pedestrians walking through cars. And last summer, we were making a right turn, a client and I. A gentleman had walked across the street on the left side, hit between 2 cars. We almost struck him. And I hit the brake, and I said, oh my God. So you got to really be careful when you're driving in heavy populated areas because people don't use the crosswalk. You got to really be careful. I'm actually with my instructor. I got a left or right, and sometimes I tend to forget. Yeah, you got to check over your shoulder because cars will just shoot that turn. I love the heart. Everything you said is true, and from your comment, you're slowly increasing your driver's education awareness. It's like a bubble around you, and from your comments, you're putting those together. And your instructor should be giving you feedback on what you're doing right, on what you're doing wrong. Hey, I need you to accelerate through the turn. A lot of beginners lift their foot or they go into the turn too fast and then they overload the front tires and the rear of the car slides out. So you got to control your car and go in under 15 miles an hour. And then some people hit the gas and the car jerks back. I've seen that too. So you got to have that seat adjusted properly so you can have a bend in your elbow and a bend in your knees, and you can pivot your foot between the brake and gas. Seating placement is so important, and I try to show you guys that when I'm talking and going live. You'll see a director's view, you'll see a headshot of me, and then the outside view. Then I edit that, showing you in heavy traffic in the morning, going live in rush hour traffic, and then hitting you with the class stuff now. So I'm reviewing that, and then you're taking time to ask me some questions. So I appreciate that because that tells me you want to learn. And your instructor should be building that relationship with you. Research has shown that completing a driver's education course can lead to safer driving behaviors and reduce risk. Because if you don't take a driver's education course, you won't really understand what to do. Anyone can probably get into a car drive, but if I spin you around 3 times, take you in downtown Detroit during that draft, bro, you're done. Bro, you're done because you're going to be overwhelmed. People don't yield. They're going to walk in front of you in downtown Detroit, Chicagoland, Houston, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia, because they're huge metropolitan areas. Detroit has about 685,000 people, and a large majority of them live in the city. So I'm trying to tell you it's a different way of life, okay? And if you live in the UK, you're like, yeah, okay, but the city's different than the UK, okay? The city's different than Japan or Germany, okay? Detroit versus everybody. You feel me on that, baby? Real life out here. I'm going to continue with these questions. Before turning left, it's important that you yield. A lot of you said, what are some of the common things? Beginner drivers don't yield. And if you turn in front of a car, automatic failure. Because you put us into a dangerous maneuver. And me as an instructor, I don't put my students in those situations. I really watch. And then I get quiet, I support them. If they're about to turn in front of the car, I'm hitting that brake. Because I don't want you to pull out in front. And a lot of beginners might hit the brake instead of the gas. And that's scary. I've been there before, and your heart drops because that client hit the brake instead of the gas, and here comes the car. Here comes the truck. You're about to get hit. And we don't want to be hit. The most common thing that I see for adult drivers and teen drivers is rear end collisions because drivers behind us are tailgating us. They're very aggressive. And I try to share that's exactly what I decided to do because it would make me more 100%. And if you're not comfortable, then why are you taking lessons? You feel me? And if I'm not comfortable in the car that I'm in, then we got two people that are not feeling comfortable. The car that I have right now was not running good, missing, hesitating. I had a client say, my son and daughter don't feel safe in the car. I'm like, okay, call the company. I'll get another car. I'm trying to build confidence. And from what you're saying, and we're connected right now, you're going to get that confidence as you go on, right? We'll start in your neighborhood. We'll go to your school. We'll go to the mall. We'll going around the outer ring. I'm giving you real life. All malls and community colleges have an outer ring. That's good to drive around too because you have stop signs, yield signs, 3-way stops, 4-way stops. I'm giving you the recipe right now. So you're like, okay. So I take clients to a community college. There's an outside ring for the maintenance department, delivery trucks, And then around malls, they have an outside ring that you can drive on. There's stop signs, yield signs. There's a two-way road. So that's really good for clients who need some additional support because driving in the neighborhood after a while does get a little bit boring. So you want to switch it up, and you should not be doing straight driving. If you're doing straight driving, you're not. We learned that in driver's education school. Do not have the client drive straight for an extended period of time. You follow me on this? So if this is bringing you value, give it another thumbs up. I'm going to keep reading some other information. And as we talk, you're like, is my instructor doing good or they just kind of wasting time? Because if you're paying your money, you're paying for high level instruction. You're paying for an instructor who's going to prep you, who's going to prepare you, who's going to build confidence. I had a client named Ashley. About 3 weeks ago, we had 4 private lessons, parallel parking, merging an expressway, right turns, left turns, lane changing. She took her test. When she came into the testing center, she had a blank look in her face. I'm like, Ashley. She was scared. She was white as a ghost. I said, you got this. So she got scared for a moment. So when you're being evaluated, it's different. And a lot of you say, oh, it's easy to drive. But when you have someone evaluating you and there's a clipboard here and they're going over all the rules, and if you make a wrong turn or make a mistake, you fail, that's pressure. That's real life. So I try to show you the success, but also I tell you the real life things. I'm going to be real to all of you. And I'm not going to lie, it takes work. You got to have a good instructor. You got to have a reliable car. You got to have someone who knows the routes to take you on. You should be going through roundabouts, junction, merging on off the expressway. Today, we did a 2-mile loop. We got on the expressway, off at a half a mile, made a right turn, back road, curves, stop sign, make a right turn, practice merging back on. Your instructor should be having 2-mile loops, 1-mile loops, 3-mile loops to vary the routes to get you comfortable. And then good instructors explain it. And driving can be mentally fatiguing, right? If I'm driving 10 hours, you see me, I'm looking tired, bro. But that's what I do. But I want to share with you my journey so you understand driver's education more. And you understand, hey, this guy's pretty passionate. You know, a lot of you will end up subscribing because, you know, I'm going to go live. I'm going to try to go live every day. 3:05, 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and then 7:45, 7:30, somewhere in there. But I'm here to answer your questions. Hey, is my instructor really training me, or are we just going in circles? It depends on the company, and it depends on the instructor, because I always want to be honest with my clients. And I'm going to meet your mom, your dad, because if I do a good job, you're going to be a really good driver the rest of your life if your mom and dad take you out. A lot of parents don't have time. And if you're 18, 25, your parents are old. They're tired. I just came from work. I ain't taking you out. You better go talk to your mom. Oh, honey, I'm really tired. Like, I need 10 more hours. And you're not ready to take your test. So I see a lot of comment on that. That's what the kind of instructor he is doing it. We've done neighborhoods, straight driving, and then around the parking lot a few times, different instances. Good. Once you get comfortable with that parking lot, you need to get out of the parking lot, go to the main road, go up and check your traffic, check your sign, and then make that right turn. If you're learning to look to the left and check traffic, now you're ready. My drivers on their third and fourth drive, they check traffic. And if you just look like this, you're not checking traffic. You don't see the car coming. I got to see you turn your head. Now I'm like, you're ready. Okay. So once you start seeing traffic, seeing cars, in my brain, I'm like, ding, ding, ding. My student has it. Okay. That's what I look for in those eye movements, right? I'm Ashley. What's up, Ashley? How you doing? So it's really important that you put your focus together and tell your instructor, this is what I need. I'm nervous at making turns. I need you to show me. And I get in the car, I show clients. Some students turn too fast. You're going to go over the curb and hit a pole. Some students go too wide. You're going to go in the wrong lane. Cars making left turns. They're going to come into your lane. And a lot of people don't care. They're very hard on drivers. Rush hour, they don't care. We have trucks cut us off. Semi trucks tailgate us. We had grandmas cut us off because beginner drivers actually tell me if I'm wrong, you're driving 5 under, 10 under. If the speed limit is 35, you're at a slow 25. If the speed limit is 45, you're barely hitting 30. Some beginning drivers go really fast, some do not. I had a young lady, her mother had a 2015 Mustang Supercharger Nitrous 5-speed. She was doing 60 through the neighborhood. I'm like, girl, slow. I'm sorry. My mom drives fast and I've been watching. I said, slow down. She was doing 60 in the neighborhood. I'm like, if you don't slow down, I'm not driving with you anymore. Because that's not fair to me as an instructor. And I like all people. It's very rarely do I not drive someone. But you got to work hard in the classroom. You got to do your worksheet. You got to take your quiz, Kahoot, Book It, Quizzy. I'm making some custom quizzes that I'm going to be bringing out soon that will prep you and prepare you because I'm an instructor. I'm in education. So you're going to get that extra value because that's what it's all about. Let's continue. When driving past a vehicle parked to the right, you should position your vehicle to the left portion of the lane. Your instructor should be taking you to those little bitty tight downtown areas where you learn how to parallel park. You pull up on a real city street, not cones in a parking lot. Because when you do real parallel parking, you don't have cones in a parking lot. You pull up next to your car on the street, you reverse back, you turn that wheel all the way to the right. You get that car in at a 45, and in my case, my parents don't want to teach me. They asked me to mention, I was told I don't need to drive when I'm 16. You know what? You need to drive. Ashley, you need to drive. The longer you wait, the harder it's going to be. And my heart goes out for you because this is for you, that 16 to 36. You've got to get your experience. Drive with your uncle. Drive with your uncle. And prepare yourself. Get with your auntie. Because your aunties and uncle love you. They saw you grow up. They'll let you drive. If you don't have the support of mom or dad, because my dad didn't really let me drive his car, right? I didn't really start driving until I was like 16. You know, I had my permit. I got it. I remember it. But I didn't drive for like a year and a half, 2 years, because my dad was not going to let me drive his car. You know, he was just going to work, coming back. Boy, you ain't driving my car, right? So I'm like, I got to get my own car. So I started working and I started stacking money up. And I got my own vehicle, but I was scared to bring it home all summer. But then I finally brought it home and my mom said, whose car is that outside? And yes, I've driven, Halo. I'm a gamer, baby. I love Halo. Of course I know how to drive the Warthog, man. That's part of it. I'm a hardcore gamer too. So, you know, we will be putting some stuff together for driver's education too, right? Let me ask you a few more questions here. When preparing to move your vehicle, after you shift into gear, what is the next step? Release the park brake. You got to release the park brake. Okay. When you start your vehicle from a push button start, you have to put your foot on the brake. It's a safety feature because your little niece or nephew, your little sister, brother may get in the car, pretend they're driving. What do? They do this in the car. And accidentally, they might start the car. Or accidentally, they might open the trunk and get stuck in the trunk. So there's an emergency latch you can pull. So a lot of kids have gotten stuck in the trunk and they hide behind the car. So that's why you have to look out when you drive. You got to look around the car. You got to watch out for little toys because kids will play around cars. And if you see toys out and a basketball hoop out, you better start slowing down. You better be looking left. You better be looking right. You better be keeping your speed together. Let's go to a few more questions. Airbags are designed to be used with seat belts. The seatbelt keeps you in the car. The airbag will brace you in case of contact, right? Emergency flashers will warn other drivers of a problem. You have to push in the little triangle. It's red. It's a yellow triangle or red triangle. The sign, the little button is red with the yellow or white triangle, and that means a hazard, okay? Next, a good habit is to check your fuel gauge before every trip to see how much fuel is in when you're at a fourth of a tank. Don't run your fuel down to under a fourth because there's a fuel pump inside the tank. Let's pretend this is your fuel pump. And if you run it down past this line, your pump will heat up. And if your pump heats up, it won't work properly. So the fuel, just like this, actually cools the pump. I have a water cooled computer, so I mix in my custom solution, and it's actually purple. But this could be racing gas too, right? But you need fuel to cool down the mechanical pump in the tank. So when you're not used to maintenance on your vehicle, you're gonna run your car low. You're going to not have good headlights, not good windshield wipers. So you have to take care of your vehicle because you're gonna need it in that rain, in that sleet, driving in heavy stop and go traffic. Okay, let's go through some other questions. Next, if the rear tire blows out, you might experience a oversteer skid, where the rear tire blows out and the car is really hard to handle. Those are really scary. I was driving to Wisconsin. I got lost. I ended up in West Virginia. It happens. I had a blowout. The right rear tire had a Toyota Camry, very reliable, but I had a blowout. So here I am in West Virginia, lost, and I had a blowout. So I had to, and it was in the summertime, about 90 degrees out. I had to jack up the car, get off the side of the road. Luckily, it wasn't at night, but I knew how to change a tire because I took automotive shop classes in high school. I really should have been an automotive shop teacher, opening up a high performance shop, building motors, dynos, and everything. But I'm still passionate about cars, so now you kind of understand me more with the driver's education. So I had to change the tire. Is the red flag? Um, so if it is a red flag, to feel satisfied kind of kid runs into the road. So you always want to be aware. A red is a red is a important color. So anytime something is red, got to be careful on that, right? Um, and then video games can also help you learn how to drive. Okay, there's some good driving games out here. So I will be putting together maybe about 100 video clips and then mix those into the channel to see if you guys really like them. And if the response is positive, I'll make some clips. But my main focus for this is driving education, defensive driving, getting those 18 to 36 year olds ready for driving. And that's the most important thing that you want, is to get ready for driving. And there are good video games along the way. There are good driving games along the way. Everyone who's ever played a video game has played Halo, right? That's an incredible franchise game. But there are other good driving games out there that are very similar. So I'm looking for probably a combination pack, Logitech, or some other brand names, where I'll get a combo pack. I'll get the steering wheel, I'll have the pedals, I'll have a steering wheel cam, a brake cam, and then have a course. So I'm doing driving school and they use Xbox steering wheels. Yes, 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 Ashley, 100%. And I've seen some clips on different channels where everyone's on the machine. Okay, so I want to do something like that. Best Halo game, I like the original OG, but everyone is different. Halos went through so many different versions, but it really depends on what you're passionate about. And, we all play video games to escape, to have a break, and they're fun. I was ranked very competitively, but also I was addicted to video games. See, I'm sharing this with you. So you have to have everything in moderation. If I do driver's education all day, then I'm going to be exhausted. If I play games, the best Halo game to learn how to drive, it really depends. I like the first one, the original. But you have to take your time and be really patient. Hey guys and ladies, if this brought you value, give it a thumbs up. And if you really like it, subscribe to my channel. I will talk to you tomorrow. I'll go live at about 3:05, and then I'll go live in the evening, 7:30, 7:45, sometime around there. Thank you for the questions, all of you. Ashley, you're awesome. Subscribe. Bye.